Hello, beautiful people. Today, I want to talk about when energy work seems to stop working. When we go down a path and we feel really aligned to it and we get so much out of it, and then all of a sudden it feels dead. Or same thing with friends. We kind of go with such alignment, and then all of a sudden we have an experience with them, and then it feels like it's done, it's over. This awakening journey can be a little confusing that way, I've noticed. But I've also noticed during my awakening journey that it takes a village. It takes a village of friends and family and resources and different spiritual paths as we grow into ourselves. Have you noticed that? Yeah. So guys, I want to let you know that it is okay to feel guided towards something and then feel the energy shift and feel like you're done with it. Even if it's like a month in the program, right? A month with a certain energy work and you just feel done. The awakening process, it's not linear. It's not like, okay, I got to this point. Okay, I got this point. It's like this, like, I don't know. Some see it as kind of this spiral that goes up a mountain. And each time you go to that same spot, you're up a little higher and have this bird's eye view, and you have a little bit more perspective, and you have a little bit more perspective, and a little bit more perspective. And each path we go on does a ring around the mountain, putting us a little higher with that perspective. And I've noticed that sometimes I just need no input. Sometimes no more books, no more YouTube videos, no more energy work, no more input. Like my body and being got it. Like we've got to integrate, we've got to expand and grow. And in the beginning of my awakening journey, I really required a lot of support. The village needed to be bigger. The village needed to have energy workers and friends, and it needed to have buddies to go out into nature with, and it just needed a lot more resources and a lot more input to help me clear the density. And so this is interesting. This is just coming through. So in the beginning, you need a lot of resources and support and energy work to start clearing the density. It helps. It's not super required. But as you go along your awakening journey and you're starting to have this ascension where you have this sustained higher frequency, then the work becomes not so much all the input. Actually, you start to have a lot of practices to push the input away, to clear it, to keep your field aligned with your ascension energy. And yeah, I'm just making this distinction now. So practicing in the beginning of awakening and kind of further along in awakening is a little different. It's about keeping your vibration clear and crystalline and really aligned with source. Now you can do that same practice too in the beginning of your awakening, but there's a lot of density. There's a lot of past lives. There's a lot of lower frequencies. There's a lot of karma. We also go through a really intense empathic phase where we're clearing density, but as it's raising up, well, this is just coming out too. So as we clear density, it's starting to come out of the subconscious and it's really surfaced, right? And like attracts like. So then all of a sudden we're having a lot of attraction to our density. So we're attracting a lot of energy from the collective that has the same density. And it can be a really hard time. And so we have to learn how to clear that energy, not only our own density, but the other dense frequencies that have come in from the attraction of our subconscious kind of coming up to the conscious level. So that part really requires a village, I think. So through my journey, let's see, I had Shakti Pa when I was 19 by Guru Maya, the peacock feathers, and that kind of really blasted me open. And that's when a lot of my stuff just whoosh, came up, and my 20s were really hard. And so as this stuff came up, I was constantly seeking, and I became a born-again Christian. I studied Course in Miracles through the Unity Church. I was doing a lot of yoga. I was doing a lot of things to release the density, because my density was coming up, and then it was attracting a lot of density from others. So it was a very intense time of life. So if you feel like you are in that phase where you feel very empathic, you're picking up so much of the collective stuff, definitely have some practices under your belt, like yoga, like reiki, like prayer, like what just something to just, you know, get the density and other people's stuff out of the way. And the simplest thing you can do is a little practice that I like to do from Access Consciousness, and it's called Return to Sender. And basically you turn into the energy and you're like, this isn't mine. Is this mine? It's not mine. Okay, you start to notice what's mine, what's not. And I return to sender. Because a lot of times when the subconscious density comes up to be released, we don't relive it in any way. The energy's there. And so we might be in a good mood. We're not totally living the density, but it's raising up. And then we are glomming on other people's lower frequencies with that subconscious that's coming up. So yeah, get into some practices. Breath work is really good. Breathe into the density, breathe even deeper into the density, and you know, fire breath is really good. Or yeah, just different kinds of pranayama are really helpful for that. Or just a hatha yoga, get it kind of moving out of the body. And so yoga is a great practice because it has different practices for different areas of your awakening. So hatha yoga is really important for that beginning stage of awakening, to get that density really moving out of the subconscious and out of the body. So hatha yoga is really powerful for that. Okay, guys, so it takes a village. There's not just one energy work that is the key end all. Okay, we're gonna feel different ways about different energy work. It's because we're all different beings from different places, different frequencies. And so use your personal knowing and how it feels when you're in the energy work. You know, do you have a knowing that this feels right and light? I can feel density lifting. Or does it feel like you're getting more dense with it? It could be that an energy work or energy path is actually lowering your frequency from whatever source it's coming from. So really follow that knowing. Just because it's lighting up one of your friends' lives doesn't mean it's for you. And that's okay. You'll find something that works for you. And so I just had a friend let me know that one of the energy practices that I do on my kids wasn't really working for her. And I was so glad she told me, because it was just like, this is okay. Different energy work for different people and work for different phases in our awakening process. So the only person that knows is you, whether this is an alignment in this present moment in time. And just because an energy work doesn't work for you in this moment of time doesn't mean it might not work later on down the road, and vice versa. So if something's really working for you and then all of a sudden you're just like, doesn't seem to be working, it doesn't have any juice, or it just feels flatlined, or it feels like it's lowering your vibration, like really tune in to your awareness. And how do you do that? How do you turn into your awareness? Sit still, go within, and ask the question, is this working for us anymore? And you say us because you're asking all of your bodies. You're asking your physical body, your mental body, your energy body, your witness body, and your spirit body. You're asking all those parts of yourself, is this working for us anymore? And sit still until a knowingness comes. And the knowingness is like a slight, oh, or a little whisper. It's very subtle. So you're not going to hear a big voice. If you hear a big voice and you hear kind of like a voice that's like, you have to do it this way, most likely that's kind of an oppositional force, or an egoic force or some kind of entity. So this knowing that I'm asking you to look for is very subtle. It's a whisper. It doesn't have a big agenda. It's yeah, it's just soft and gentle. Okay? Anything bigger than that, really ask what that is. It could be an aspect of yourself, it could be an entity, it could be an oppositional force that's trying to mess with you and your best and your growing edge. So there's oppositional forces before we learn how to vibrate past them that can kind of get in and act as a voice of you. And they're trying to get you to stop awakening, stop being so bright. And I know that sounds weird and kind of like freaky, but you just kind of have to bat them away. You have to become aware of them. And their voice is very kind of like loud and stern and kind of like, not stern, but they can just be, they're trying to manipulate you, and they're trying to do things. So it might come off as sweet first, and then it gets louder and more agitated because it really is invested in you not waking up. So it wants to kind of manipulate you in a certain way. So just a thing to watch out for. But as you go along your path, it is very, very common to grow out of an energy path or grow into one. And eventually we grow out of all of them because we become a sovereign being. We are a sovereign being, and we start to really remember that. And we just need the energetics of that. And if we tune into that every day and expand it, usually that's all that's required. But a lot of times that takes a little releasing of a lot of layers of density and the roots of those density too. So yeah, through the years, I've done a lot, and it's just interesting. I'll go through, I was with Access Consciousness work and Access Bars for like 7 years, and 7 years, and all of a sudden, like, Holy Fire Reiki came into my life, and I went all the way with that for like 5 or 6 years, and then all of a sudden my energy shifted, and I was like, and just expanded, and I was like, oh, we're done with this. And so along our awakening journey, we have lots of detaching to do. Detaching from Holy Fire Reiki was very difficult because I had such a beautiful community. It was such a gentle energy, and I had my whole business wrapped up in it, and it was hard to let go of it. But I couldn't deny that every time that I went into that world, I could just feel my whole energy kind of start to collapse on me. I was just done with it, and for whatever reason. And so I have my best friend right now still is in the Holy Fire Reiki world and energy, and she's such a bright light. So then I went into Marconics, and I got what I needed there, and that was a very short run. I would say, maybe a year, but it was very clear when I was done with that, and I got exactly what I needed from that. And now it's like I work with the energy of my source. It was like all of a sudden now I was able to really tune in and be myself after all that work of just like clearing the density, clearing the karma, clearing the past lives, clearing the past program, thoughts, feelings, and emotions. All of a sudden, like, there I was. So, your awakening journey is going to be unique to you, and tune in to the energetics that are working for you and the paths that are working for you. But I guess what I want to leave you with is don't ever be afraid to detach and move on from something, because that's your growing edge. That is your personal spiritual evolution. And that's what you came here to do. And eventually you are the universe experiencing itself. So that's the greatest perspective we can have, right? You are actually even more than the universe. You are the I am experiencing itself. So how do you want to experience yourself through the I am? So beautiful, people. I know I kind of weaved my way through this video, but I hope it was super helpful. And the awakening journey is so interesting, isn't it? Namaste.